Good morning, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Monday, the 26th of January. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to our own charts. I'm not here to shoot trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers at chartingthemarkets.substack.com. It's published on YouTube after a delay of 24 hours. All right, great. Let's have a look at ES, which actually opened pretty heavily down last night and is now marginally up, I think. And this was a little head and shoulders that I'd drawn in for the big picture yesterday, and this broke down, pretty much made target, and then has recovered overnight. So that's why I haven't marked in the targets, because, well, it happened very fast. NQ. Again, we had a bit of a slide overnight, and it's rallied. RTY, this had quite a difficult Friday, actually, and we broke below this rising support, which is interesting, because this is the rising support basically from the January low. So watching that with interest, no current positive divergence on YM. Again, we had a bit of a slide here, and have rallied back above the weekly pivot. Got to say, in terms of, I'd say the SPX has been marginally the strongest. NQ has been more or less almost up with SPX, and RTY and YM have been the weakest since Friday, and this is interesting. And the same was the case again on Friday. So DAX seeing a bit of a rally here, not seeing an obvious reversal pattern, and the same could be arguably an IHS here, but I think it is really a little too large. Let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay. On at the end of the week, we closed slightly below the daily middle band on the ES chart and the SPX chart. So my warning on Friday that if we didn't see a break above, then we could see weakness this week, is I'm repeating that again this morning, because the only day this week which is scheduled to be bullish is today. The rest of them leaned slightly to the downside. So although next week is pretty bullish. So if we see this fail to break over the daily middle band again today, I'll be leaning towards seeing more downside for the rest of the week. We did do slightly better on the Qs. We closed marginally over the daily middle band. It wasn't closed on it, but again, it was still pretty weak. And on Dire, we actually gave back what we'd done the last couple of days and came back and back tested the daily middle band, which was interesting. So watching that to see if it holds today. IWM never got near the daily middle band in the first place, and it pulled back significantly on Friday, but it was still nowhere near the daily middle band. So I'm not really looking for any support tests there. In terms of the hourly chart, this may be a little bull flag forming, kind of looks like one, but the trend lines aren't that great. We've got a head and shoulders here, which broke down, made target, and this looks like a little bullish triangle forming here. So I'm leaning towards the upside, and the stats are saying upside today. On the Qs, no divergence, 15 minutes. This double top looks as though it's failing, in which case we should see a retest of 630 soon. On Dire, we've actually got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed, which has made the possible near miss target area. So probably worth disregarding that. If we do see more downside soon, I do have a trendline target here in about the 480 area, and I'm wondering if we could make that this week. Looking at the 15-minute chart, no divergence. Let's have a look at IWM. IWM, on the hourly chart, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, and we did see quite a steep decline on Friday, which was a change for what we've been looking at previously. If we have a look at the move up from November, there is an argument here that we've gone and slightly overthrown this wedge resistance here, in which case we could be looking for a target at wedge support in the 255 area. Possible RSI 14 buy signal brewing, and on the 15-minute and an RSI 14 buy signal fixed, no obvious topping pattern. On DAX, we're back up testing the daily middle band, but have not seen a break over it yet, like SPX. And Nikkei, pretty close to a retest of the all-time high, and that would be the next obvious target, but it doesn't necessarily need to be this week. So we will see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at DX. Now, DX, this was very weak last week, and we made the double top target, which was down here in the a second. Well, it was down here in about the 97.5 area to 96.15 area, and that made target and then some. And then we went lower overnight, and we've got all the way back to 96.75. Now, I'm going to just have a quick aside. I'm going to have a look at the US dollar charts, so bear with me a moment. I'll just pull those up. But this is actually looking fairly significant on the bigger picture, particularly so because, hang on, bear with me, because we had this double bottom breakup, and at the moment it looks really as though, and we got down to 96.5, you could see a full rejection back to the low is a 96.22. That looks as though that's going to happen. And if we do that, then we could find that we break down from there. Now, if we do break down from there, I just want to remember, because obviously the US dollar is rather important, but if we do see a breakdown from there, then we would be potentially breaking down from this flag, with this flag having become the topping pattern, because it's breaking in the other direction to the one you would expect it to break in. So watching that with enormous interest. If we do see that, then it sees a breakdown, then this would have a target, which would be in about the 80 area. And that's something that we could see play out over the next few months, or possibly a year or two. Watching that with great interest, but we came pretty close to that overnight, and we came close enough to it that I think it's a reasonable expectation that it's going to make it, and that double bottom that broke up has rejected. So we've got an opportunity here for the dollar to go down quite seriously. ZB has actually been rallying fairly strongly from the lows last week. Don't know how that long that's going to last. It certainly made target on the flags that we had on ZB and ZN, but obviously we've got some bigger patterns pointing downwards, which may yet be playing out. But I'm being a little surprised at how strong this has been. This still looks like a bear flag on ZN. Get up into the 112 area and it will no longer look like a bear flag, but right now it still does. Okay, looking at CL. CL, we've got a week. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed. I'm wondering whether forming an overall flag here. We made the double bottom target. So hang on, I'll just mark that in. Reach target. So that made the target. Might see a retest of this high here, but that would, so I'd be wondering about a double top to take us back into these lows. I'm not sure we're going back to these lows. I think we've got enough disruption on the Russian and Iranian supplies into the market that we might actually be starting to look at a significant and extended rise, but we will see. HO, I think it's pretty obvious that what's happening on NG here and on HO is just basically a reaction to the very unseasonable, well, the very serious cold snap that we're seeing across much of the US at the moment. I think particularly on NG, that's very obvious. So we will see how that goes. But this is HO and NG have been the strongest, and NG has been wildly the strongest. We will see. RBOB, possible double top here, still thinking that might break down with a target at a retest of these lows. On NG, I rolled this into March, and that delivered a very different picture, and we've got this wild divergence. This is the NG February contract at 5.8, and this is the NG March contract at 3.7. And now, given that we've got the NG contract basically ending, I think it probably stops trading altogether on Friday, but the volume has already moved over. I think this volume has already moved over into the. Has that moved over? Yeah, the volume's in the March contract now. No question about it. So I think we will see how it goes, but basically what we're looking at here is a huge spike in the spot price, which has been basically a spike based on this very short-term rise in demand. Now, this means that when spot price catches up with the NG March futures price, although it could technically happen the other way around, but it does look as though, looking at April, May, June, July, etc., there is no expectation that this spike up into the fives is going to last. So I'm expecting this to come down a lot. In terms of the difference between these two, normally we find these two moving together in the last few days of the switch of the contracts, and that has absolutely not been the case. This is one of the biggest gaps I've seen between 2 months on NG ever. This is extremely impressive. So expect on the spot price to see a major decline soon. How can you take advantage of that from a trading point of view? I'm not certain that you can. This is just one of the tricky things about trading NG. All right, looking at, we've got a 6-minute sell signal fixed, and it's coming down on March, and it's probably going to come down more. GC, we've made it up to 5,000 and 5,100. Wow. We've got a possible weak 6-minute sell signal brewing, and actually I think that might be fixed now. SI made it up to an astounding 109. Sorry, 110, maybe 111. Incredible. I am thinking that we've now got to such an extent here that I am thinking we might start seeing a retracement soon. But to be honest, on this kind of wild move, it's very, very hard to call where that retracement would start. Palladium has gone higher. Platinum has gone higher. Very nice to see these acting very much as precious metals now rather than industrial metals. Obviously, it probably sucks if you're using them in an industrial basis, but I think it's nice to see that happening, because I think if we're going to see a move away from the dollar over the next year or two, then the precious metals all banding together and acting as one actually provides quite a large counterweight, especially in terms of existing bank reserves to the dollar. So it gives people an alternative, something to go into that doesn't have a counterparty. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed here on week one on platinum. HG, we've got a weak 60-minute sell signal fixed, but at the moment still going up. I'm quite liking this overall double top, but obviously we didn't break down from it, and we may not. Looking at KC, we're seeing a bit of a rally here, but I'm still leaning towards seeing a retest of this low. SB still looks like an overall bear flag forming. CC has continued lower, seeing a little bit of a rally now, but I'm thinking this may well go lower. We've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed though. I was talking, that was that has fixed overnight, so leaning towards seeing a bit more of a rally short term. CT, we've got continuation down. I'm leaning towards seeing a retest of this low here, and this double bottom looks as though it's going to entirely fail. In terms of lumber, I'm quite liking the double top. The double bottom that's broken up with the target in the 643 to 25 to 6465 range. We will see how that goes. Wheat. It's having another crack at this double bottom target. Got to say, I'm wondering whether this is actually, because this was the low here, I'm wondering whether this might just be a bear flag forming. Trend lines aren't great though, so we could still head up to this double bottom target, but maybe not. Corn still looks like a bear flag. 60-minute sell signal is fixed. Soy, we've broken up for a double bottom here. That could fail. Weak 60-minute sell signal is hanging in there at the moment though, so that's still got a shot. ZL actually bombed up last week to a very impressive degree. Hasn't really been reflecting what's happening on soy. Quite often this doesn't. Is this a sell signal? I think it went a little too low and below the 50 area. So I don't think this is a sell signal here, but I am thinking we might see some reversal. On live cattle, looks like this tiny little level top is failing. And we're heading back into a retest of this high. HE, we've got a lovely rising channel here, and we've got a weak 60-minute sell signal fixed, and actually I think we've got a full-size 60-minute sell signal fixed now. So we will see how that goes, but I'm leaning towards seeing a possible return down to this flag support currently in about the 92 area. All right, let's have a look at questions. Do I think the US is defending the yen? I think someone's defending the yen. Where we saw a big move down. A big move down on here, and there is a lot of talk that the retest of the high I've been looking for at about the 162 area, I think, is basically a very big level which they don't want to be hit. And I think someone has been defending the yen, and that was part of the reason the dollar headed down quite heavily last week. I don't think the US dollar led this down. I think it was the yen, it's only 9% of the index. Well, the Nikkei is not really going down at the moment. It's actually pretty close to the all-time highs. It's hard to call on the defense thing because I think they likely have been buying a lot of yen. you're right. And that's been sending USD JPY down because, of course, that's inverted. I would expect I think we're reaching a point where the dollar may see a sizable breakdown. It's not all about the yen. Yen is only 9% of the US dollar index. I think the yen's going to come down with the dollar. If that happens. And because both of these and the USD CAD will come down with the dollar too. Because really, actually, what's happening when the USD CAD comes down is CAD's getting stronger, when USD JPY comes down, yen's getting stronger. And actually, given what's happened on yields in Japan, which I think might not be a short-term thing, you would expect the yen to get stronger because people will buy yen because they're buying Japanese bonds. We will see. But I think I'm not optimistic about having got to this stage on the dollar, I'm not optimistic about the dollar getting any higher. And I think it might be about to break down. The administration's really been doing everything it can to get it to break down. I think it's going to follow through, and I think we're going to start seeing a sizable decline on the dollar. That's not going to be the end of the world. I mean, we're only going back to levels that we were back to 10 years ago. But I think it's going to have a significant impact. But also, I think it's part of a longer-term trend where the dollar was already becoming less important as a reserve currency. Every time Trump opens his mouth, it becomes less credible as the big reserve currency, and it has an impact. All right, no worries, mate. My pleasure as always. Everyone, take care, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.